If you've ever wondered how sellers are hitting big milestones like 10,000 sales on Etsy, it is not luck, it is not by chance, it is purely strategic. And in today's video, I'm going to share how I've done this myself in a simple 3-phase process that I like to call plan, scale, and profit. We are going to go step by step through each phase, what they look like, what you should focus on, and some common mistakes to avoid. By the end of this, my goal for you is that you have a clear plan of how to grow and scale your print-on-demand business this year the right way. Oh, and don't forget to boop the subscribe button because next week I'm going to be releasing my full December recap for both of my print-on-demand businesses, walking through their revenue, profit, and what I'm doing in those shops to prepare them for the new year. The plan phase is all about one thing and one thing only: getting your first 100 sales. The reason why this is such a big deal and the only focus in the plan phase is because you have to be able to walk before you can run. And honestly, this is where a lot of sellers I find get stuck. They don't have a clear strategy, so their efforts are kind of all over the place. And this looks like different product types all throughout their shop, different niches. They're not really built out into any of the niches that they've pursued. It's very just scattered and all over the place. And I'm going to be so honest with you, sometimes this actually does get sellers to their first 100 sales, but here's where the issue is. They have gotten to that 100 sale point by fishing with the largest net possible. They've just thrown it out there, and yes, they have caught some fish, which gives a little bit of a false sense of security, like things are going in the right direction. But what I find with sellers that have gone this approach and achieved their first 100 sales, they don't really know how to properly scale beyond that because they don't have a lot of clear information as to how they got there. It feels very random and they don't know how to act on it. And the strategy that I'm going to give you in the plan phase is designed to give you a clear, focused path forward, one that is going to help you actually build skills and systems that you can grow and scale from. So with the whole fishing example, it's leading you to water and teaching you how to fish so that you can do it on your own and you can scale from it and catch more fish. So in order to get to those first 100 sales, there are 2 things that you need: research and consistency. And this is where I like to use a research tool. Specifically, I like to use Everbee. So let me show you how I use it. With the research component, there are 2 types of research that I like to dive into. One is keyword research and the second is design research. One of the main ways I've always liked to start keyword research is simply using the Etsy search bar. This is what I did prior to using any type of research tool, and it can give you a lot of really great insights when you are just seeing what auto-populates. So for example, we will use the teacher niche in our keyword research for today. So if I type in teacher and then I just go ahead and see what auto-populates down below, that's a good indicator as to what is actively being searched for on Etsy. Now, as I mentioned, I am using Everbee, which is a Chrome extension. I have a link and actually a discount for you to try Everbee in the description, but you can see these numbers of monthly searches next to these keywords as well. That's where it can give a little bit of additional insight just so that you feel a little bit more confident in that you're not just guessing and it's more of an educated guess as to what keywords people are looking for. What's important to remember with Etsy is that Etsy is a search engine and it is absolutely vital that you are using keywords that people are actually searching for. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making with their keywords are they are very descriptive and they're describing exactly what they're selling. So for example, if we just looked at this random listing, they might look at this and try to be selling something like this and say in their title, pink bow Bible verse shirt. And that is very descriptive as to what I am looking at. However, somebody who comes to Etsy, they don't necessarily know that they want a pink bow Bible verse shirt necessarily. They might be looking for something more broad, like a Christianity tee or something along those lines. And that's where it's very imperative that you are doing this keyword research to understand how buyers search through Etsy. Now, going back to how we continue to look for these keywords, I would then like to dive into maybe one of the highest searched keywords that I see here, which is teacher shirts. That is going to help me get a little bit more insight as to additional keywords that I could be targeting for this specific niche. I can scroll down and look at some of the bestsellers, listings that have popular now badges. For example, if we just click into this one right here, and just a quick little tip, what you can do with the title here is just start typing in some of these keyword phrases that they're using, and with Everbee, see that monthly search volume. I like to go just kind of chunk by chunk. I might start with custom teacher shirt, and what I'll do is I'll just copy that and paste it in, let that populate, and I can see, okay, custom teacher shirts has over 1,200 monthly searches, custom teacher shirt gifts has over 1,000 searches, and then we even get a little bit more specific, which sometimes these are the best opportunities as you're growing and trying to reach those first 100 sales. Custom teacher shirts special ed, it's taking the teacher niche and just narrowing it down to be a little bit more specific. What's great about this is that there's often going to be a lot less competition there as well. Now, the second thing that I like to do here in this keyword research is go ahead and analyze the listing. With Everbee, if I scroll down, I can then jump into the tags. And the benefit of doing this with a research tool is I can get a little bit more insight again to that search volume and also the competition. What Everbee does is they actually provide a keyword score. So you can just filter to see what the highest keyword score is. And that's basically giving you a number as to where this sits in terms of search volume and competition and ranks to the best opportunities for you with the keywords that are being used here. So we can see custom name teacher, custom teacher shirt, elementary teacher, fourth grade teacher. Those are two really great examples of kind of narrowing this down. All of those are keywords that have a decent keyword score next to them and might be ones that I go and pursue for my keywords that I'm targeting in the listing that I'm creating. Now, the next component of my research is design research. The design research component is important because I want to make sure that I am also creating something that's in line with current trends and what people are actually interested in when they are looking for something like a t-shirt. I also just want to add that yes, I am doing this for a t-shirt in this example, but this same process, these same steps, if you really just strip it of the word t-shirt, you can still do these same steps, processes, and repeat this no matter your product type. Now, something that I like to do with my design research is look in very popular, profitable, high-selling niches. One of those niches that I really like to explore is the bachelorette niche. The reason that I like to go into it is because there's so much sales volume that happens in that niche that you start to see a lot of trends emerge and emerge quickly. I'm going to go ahead and just type in bachelorette shirt so I can show you exactly what I mean. Just like with our keywords, we're looking for things like search volume and competition as validating factors to whether or not we want to use a keyword. There's also some things that we can look for with designs that are going to be helpful and indicators towards what type of design components we should try to emulate in our own unique design. Things that I'm typically looking for are bestseller badges, popular now badges, and actually clicking into listings. So for example, if I click into this one right here, I can also see that this one is in 20 plus carts. You'll see little flashes of things like that on Etsy listings. You'll see how many carts it's in, how many have sold in the last 24 hours, and just other different little badges that show proof of demand. Now at this point, I'm doing design research. So what I'm looking for in the design is trying to draw out the specific components of it. I like to look at this and describe it as if I'm trying to explain it to somebody who is blindfolded. So if I was describing this, I might say, all right, this is a t-shirt. It has a front design and a back design. The design on the front is in just the pocket area of the shirt. The text that they're using all features a more loopy script type font. They use all one color throughout all of their design elements, and the graphics that they're using have a line art style. As I'm starting to analyze and draw out all of those different components, I'm making a list of those. And then when I go to design, I might use all of those same components. I might pick and choose, and I repeat this process until I have a pretty healthy list of design components that I can pull from that have proof of concept. They are design components that are selling elsewhere, and that's going to help make my design not necessarily just me coming up with something from scratch, but something that has a little bit more of a proof of concept behind it. I generally like to repeat this process and go through several different listings, look at different design components. I actually have a video where I walk through this process that I will link up above for you to check out after this one. Just goes a little bit deeper in how you can repeat this process yourself. Now, here is where it all comes together. I take the demand from the keywords that we found during our keyword research, and then I take the components from the design research that we did. And then from there, I am able to create my own unique listing that isn't just guessing. I have proof of concept in my keywords and in my design components, and those have influenced is what I end up creating with my final listing that is unique and is going to bring value based off of what is currently selling well and performing well on Etsy. Now, the second component in getting to your first 100 sales is consistency. And this is truly so simple, but where I see a lot of people breaking promises to themselves. They say they're going to be consistent. They say, it's almost the New Year's right now, so people are making New Year's resolutions. Oh, I'm going to start 2025 being consistent, doing this, going to the gym, all of the different things. But we are the first people that we often break promises to because there's nobody to keep us accountable. And so as simple as it sounds, consistency is actually a really difficult thing to achieve. Really, all it needs to be is just one listing a day. That daily effort really builds momentum and gives you opportunities to understand what is and isn't working each time that you're creating a new listing. Now, all of this ties directly into my strategy that I like to call the rule of 5 ones. Now, this actually comes from a common business strategy that many people use in multiple different types of businesses that I've decided to twist and shape and adapt to make it make sense and make it really actionable for anybody who's looking to plan and scale a print-on-demand business. And one key part of this is sticking to one product type. This comes back down into the casting the large net and trying to catch all of the fish that way. What that looks like for many sellers is trying to do so many different product types. I encourage you to stick to just one until you reach your first 100 sales. With that being said, I want to eliminate some of the overwhelm for you and give you 3 of my favorite product types that are not only in demand, but also highly profitable that you can pick from to hopefully make this decision a little bit easier for you and get you on the right path. One of the biggest components of print on demand is having the right print provider. I like to use Printify, and I recommend Printify, honestly, for anybody who is just getting started. One of the main reasons that I use Printify and also recommend Printify is because Printify operates as a network of print providers. And so you can think of Printify like the umbrella, and underneath that umbrella, there are multiple different print providers in their network, which means you are going to have less of an issue with supply, things running out of stock, any type of issues like that, which are incredibly stressful as a business owner. If you're wanting to sell a product and you just physically cannot get it anywhere, there's nothing more aggravating than that. And so here are 3 of the top products that I recommend. First being mugs. Mugs are always a bestseller. They're a classic gift item and really a great option for somebody who might not feel the best about their design skill. The best-selling mugs often feature very minimalistic designs that are simply just text-based. And with mugs, a great average profit margin is going to be around $5 to $8 per item sold. Next is t-shirts. T-shirts always get a bad rep. A lot of people think oversaturation, but the reality is we are always going to be wanting, needing, purchasing t-shirts. Unless all of a sudden we become a nudist colony, people are always going to need and want t-shirts. And people buy t-shirts truly for all types of reasons, all occasions, and it's a product type that truly is never going to go anywhere. Unless, like I said, we go fully nude or something like that. T-shirts are probably one of the most versatile product types in this list, and when it comes to profit, you can typically see an average profit margin somewhere between $5 and $10. Last product type is tote bags. Tote bags have been a staple for me in my print-on-demand business. I absolutely love tote bags. I find that they're a little bit of a higher profit margin, and they're also a product type that I found has a really good bulk buy ability, if that makes sense. I found that there's a lot of niches that you can target with tote bags that people aren't just buying one, they're buying like a whole heaping of tote bags, which makes your profit margin go even higher, which is great. And just for one tote bag, I found an average profit margin of about $8 to $12 per tote bag sold. Be sure to check out the description because I have put links to the specific mugs, t-shirts, and tote bags that I have personally seen success with and have had students see success with. So that way you're not looking at a ton of different t-shirt options, a ton of different mug options, and different tote bag options. I wanted to make it easy. So be sure to check that out for the specifics of each product type. Once you've hit your first 100 sales, now it's time to scale. This is where things get exciting because you are taking everything that you have collected and learned from the plan phase and turning it into real growth, eliminating the confusion and questions that you might still have if you didn't have this methodical and strategic approach throughout your plan phase and getting to that first 100 sales. In the scale phase, it breaks down to 2 key strategies: doubling down with niches and doubling down with designs. First, focus on the niches that performed well. What worked? Where did you see the most success? And use the design research that you did all throughout the plan phase to create more unique designs for that audience. Next, look at your bestsellers and think, how can I expand on this? Just like we did design research with random listings that were bestsellers and popular now that you have listings that have sold, you can do that same design research and understand the design components in your own designs and own listings, and then use those same successful elements to create more designs. Again, I mentioned this earlier, but if you're not sure how to do this, then check out this video where I walk through the exact process. The easiest and most simple way to double down with your designs is to take those exact designs and then put them on new products. Now that we are in the scale phase, it's a lot easier to experiment with different products and taking those winning designs and putting them on new product types. At this point, you have built a very solid foundation in your shop. You have real data to guide your decisions on what's selling, what's working, and what keywords you're seeing the best results with. And that is the trick, my friend, to growing strategically without burning out. Once you've hit 10,000 sales, then you have reached what I like to call the profit phase. At this point, depending on the product that you're selling and your price point, you are likely over 6 figures in revenue, which is a great indicator that you are on the right path. At this point, I think it is a great opportunity to really hone in and focus on your business fundamentals. This includes things like bookkeeping and taxes, maybe hiring a CPA, deciding maybe at this point you want to become an LLC or stay as a sole proprietorship. These are the things that are going to help protect what you've built and set yourself up for long-term success. Up until this point, you've probably been running this business on the side, and the profit phase might be when you start to consider going full-time with your print-on-demand business. These are sometimes really big questions, but they're super exciting to explore at this point. Now, if you found this video helpful, I want to invite you to my community, the POD Connection. Inside, all members get access to this full program that essentially we just outlined in this video that I like to call Plan, Scale, Profit. While this framework outlines how to get your first 100 sales, 10,000 sales, and beyond, one of the core components of the program is that sales are the result. They are not necessarily the goal, but the goal and what we focus on throughout Plan, Scale, and Profit, the actions and the steps that are taken throughout each of those phases lead you to the result of sales because you're taking the right aligned action to get you there in the most efficient and strategic way. This program is truly about building a sustainable and successful business that is going to work for you and set you up for success long term. I will have all of the information down in the description box below if that's something that you're interested in checking out. Thank you for watching this video all the way to the end and letting me share this process with you. I hope you found it helpful and gave you some insight as to what your next steps might look like. Be sure to boop the subscribe button if you're interested in learning more about planning, scaling, and profiting with print on demand. And as always, I hope that you are having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.